Hello, my name is Dylan Straffen. I'm one half of Team 20, and I'm going to be doing our Sprint 3 demo video for you today. Just a quick refresher from last week. Our team is building a calendar application / task manager. Our goal is to build an application that allows users to input their own tasks, their own events, and see them within a nice, organized, and easy-to-use interface. To begin this video, I'm just going to quickly go over some of our sprint goals for this week, what we were able to accomplish, what we weren't able to accomplish, and all of that important information. And to start that off, I'd like to just preface that by saying from last week we did kind of change our goals just to fix and more appropriately address things that we thought were needed and just to help build a better application going forward. So our first goal for this week was to improve the task input interface. So that's our main interface in which users will actually be inputting their custom information. That's information about events, tasks that they'll be wanting to keep track of, and we wanted to improve this interface to make it more user-friendly as well as just give it a higher level of functionality. And then kind of going along with that, we wanted to add additional calendar functions to the application. We thought that a calendar served as a pretty good way, pretty good means for users to see all their tasks as well as input their tasks. So we started to implement new functions with calendar type swing effects. And then we also wanted to just make some general usability improvements. That's something that we've been doing every week, just from talking to some users and talking between one another just to see what kind of small changes we can make that either makes it more easy to use or just more visually pleasing. Small stuff that if we continue to keep doing every week to week, we should have a nice, well-working and easy-to-use application at the end. And then lastly, our last goal for this week was to get persistent data to function. Now, unfortunately, despite putting in a bunch of work towards getting that to work, we still have not gotten it working yet. And along with that, the application does not work correctly with our persistent data within it, or persistent data classes and such within it. So for the demo itself, I'm going to be showing off a working version of the application that doesn't necessarily implement all those things that we added, but I'll be including all those new classes and stuff towards persistent data in the download file, as well as going over some of them in the code walkthrough. But just to begin, I'm going to be giving kind of a front-end demo of all the new things we've implemented this week and just kind of show you around the application. Just to further address that issue with persistent data that I mentioned, we have two project files here you'll notice calendar-1-1 and calendar-1. Calendar-1-1 includes all of our class files working towards persistent data, but unfortunately it does break some of the functionality of the application. So for the purpose of this front-end demo, I'm just going to be using this calendar-1 here. And you'll also notice I've added the sprint goals over to the right side of the screen just to make it a little easier to follow along as I demonstrate how each function kind of pertains to our sprint goals. So to begin, I'm just going to launch the application. You'll notice we've made small changes, such as changing this button name from create to new user. That's sort of an industry standard for new users of an application. We thought it would be fitting for our application as well. And then within this, we've added new labels. We've kind of added new labels. You'll see that within all of our menus, because you can really never be too clear with a user about what each interface does. So to continue, I'm going to log in with just a test account. Now you notice we still have this randomly generated data for the application because we haven't gotten that persistent data functioning. But within this main interface, we have made some small changes and usability improvements, like I mentioned earlier. We've added a date, name, time, and place label just to help users more quickly assert which of each column pertains to what variable they've entered. We plan on making these button functions that allow it to be sortable functions, maybe by date or alphabetically by name, chronologically, you name it. Hopefully that's coming in the next couple of sprints. And like I mentioned, this new task label. Now we've also changed the name of this button to new task, going along with those usability improvements, just to make it a little more clear from what we had last sprint, which was just a create button. Now if I hit new task, you'll notice this is where the major chunks of all of our improvement in the task input interface and the calendar functions are. So to just address these real quickly, I'm going to use a hypothetical example that a user might have. So maybe they have an IST club meeting, for example. Now, instead of entering a date like they may have in the past with just numbers, we've added a functionality that allows them to bring up a calendar and select a date. So say this hypothetical day, or meeting I should say, is on the 24th. Goes there. Additionally, they can change the month. Maybe it's April 13th, random day. But the point is, it allows our users to more easily see when an event might be taking place and add that into the actual task information. And then along with that, it gives us the added benefit of forcing our user to enter in their information in a specific format that'll be easy for us to work with later on. Now, the time due, we've also made some improvements. We've changed this from just your basic text field to 2 JSlider functions that use a swing jar file, but they allow the user to enter in a specific hour. Say the meeting is at 10:15. It allows the user to manually select 10:15 pretty easily in a more understandable way that also shoehorns them into a specific format that will be easy for us to deal with later on. We do plan on adding ranges to these numbers so that the minutes, for example, won't allow a user to select more than 10:55 or 10:59, so a cap at 60, just so we don't have any weird data coming in that maybe was added in by accident. The place field does remain the same because places are very much up to the user and for the user's benefit, so we didn't feel like it was necessary to shoehorn them in that place. And then additionally, you'll notice we've added this calendar here just at the bottom. This just is helpful for users to scroll through as they look through and are adding a new task to find a specific day. This can also be done through here, so it might be a little bit redundant, but the one issue with this is that when you select a day, it does close it and select it, whereas this allows a user to easily scroll through each day of the week while they're adding a task. And we thought that was something that would be really helpful to a user so they know how a week is going to be built out, what day is what. For example, if something's on the 25th, they'll be able to quickly see it's a Thursday, at least in the month of May. So that was the big improvements we added in terms of improving our interface task and adding new calendar functions. And then just quickly, we've added a label here to this monthly interface just so users know exactly what they're looking at when they see this month's task. Because once again, you can never be too careful. Now next, I'm just going to quickly go through the code with you so I can better explain how everything functions. So to start that code walkthrough, I'm going to switch from this functional calendar-1 project file to our calendar 1-1, which contains all of the persistent data classes and files that we needed, but of course, like I mentioned earlier, is non-functional. Now the first thing I'm going to show off is these big changes we made here to the improvement of the task input interface and the improvement of the additional calendar functions. And that's done within the create new task UI, which you'll find here. Now within this task UI, we did the majority of our work within the actual NetBeans interface builder because we found it to be valuable for actually visualizing the interface that the user will be working with. Now to get these elements here, such as the calendar, the due date selector, and these hour and minute selectors, we actually had to do some research online to figure out the best way to get that functionality that we're looking for. And we actually found a calendar, it's called JCalendar 1.4 jar file that includes these elements, which we are able to shoehorn into our actual UI and use in this project itself. So to show that off, I'm just going to quickly go to the source code. Now you'll notice right here we have this JDate chooser 1 being created, which is that due date picker that I had mentioned earlier. We have the JCalendar, which is the calendar you'll find on the bottom of that interface just for visual purposes of the user seeing the dates. And then these JSpin fields, both 1 and 2, which are used for that hour and minute selector, just because we thought that would be a more functional and easy way for the user to input that data as well as force them into a format that works well for us. Now, the big thing that we obviously had trouble with this week and that caused us the most issues was trying to get that persistent data working so that when users saved and added their new tasks, they would see them when they use the application later on. And we attempted to do that through what's called serialized data, which is the process of kind of adding a number to each one of these elements and keeping it in a sorted way that allows them all to be connected, easily moved, easily deleted, easily shifted, and it felt like the best way for us to actually get this data to save in an organized manner. So to show that off, I'm going to quickly go to the serialized data control here, which contains the majority of that code. You'll notice we have a number of Java imports here. These are all very much related to the save file, so we'll have files for, you'll notice, an input stream and an output stream. So that's reading and writing from the file. You'll notice here we have the actual file path, and it creates a calendardata.ser file, which is a type of text file that works with serialized data. You'll notice a number of different classes here which call and create these functions themselves, as well as exceptions to catch errors when the file maybe does not exist or the file can't be found at the specified data path. It's also written to hopefully create that file if it's not there already when the user creates their new account. And then within this, you'll see a number of other exceptions, but also the ability to hopefully read and write from that file. I'm now quickly going to switch over to the serialized data model here, which is the way that the data will actually be stored. And you'll notice that we import this java.io serializable, which is a Java function for creating serialized data. You'll notice we'll grab our user list and our event list, which contain the 2 bits of major information that users will want to save. We have a bit of code here that just checks or creates the list, and then a bit of code here that initializes all of it. And then within these actual lists, you'll see user list here. We have serializable imported as well as within that event list itself imported. That's the majority of the code changes we did for this week. Unfortunately, it's still not working. We're still working on getting that to function. We think we're close as everything is compiling correctly. We're just having some issues with some of the file paths and some of the reading and writing. But we hopefully should be able to determine that what's not working and get that working for you in a later sprint. Other than that, thank you for watching. Thanks.